Hey guys, Nika here. It's always good to see you. I am here with your weekly tip. This week we're going to talk about office culture and how to keep your employees happy and maintain a positive office culture. Now, this is so important. I cannot drive home how important this is, especially for small businesses and small nonprofits. Reason being is because a positive culture can help that business grow to unbelievable heights, and a negative office culture can make that business literally implode and close up shop. The reason I know this is because I have lived in both environments and seen both situations happen. So I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to keep a positive office culture going and how to maintain that and how to keep your employees happy. Now, again, these are just some tips. There are always other things that you can do as well. And I will say this with one caveat. You cannot make everybody happy all the time. But if the general atmosphere and the general environment is good and positive and happy, you're going to be much better off and have a much easier time keeping each individual happy. All right, so let's get to those tips. So the first tip I have today is that employees who have a good relationship with their managers are usually happier at work. So making sure that managers, employees really have good communication and are working together and have a good relationship, it's really key. Making sure that employees feel respected by their managers and vice versa. Managers need to feel respected by their employees as well. The same kind of tip goes to having a positive perception of the CEO or the owner of the business. So if employees have a really good perception of the CEO, they're likely to stay longer, be happier, and work harder for the business. Now, if they think the CEO is a jerk or, is a expletive, then they are less likely to do their best work. They're less likely to support the company. They're less likely to represent the company positively in the community. And that can have some really major ripple effects long-term for the business or the nonprofits. It's really important to make sure that the CEO has a really good relationship and connection with the employees, and that the CEO is representing the organization appropriately and positively to the employees, not just to the outside environment. Because sometimes you'll see the CEO looks like this shining star in the public, and the public thinks that they are, this wonderful person. And then when you actually go and deep dive into the office, you start to see that the CEO is yelling at employees and treating everyone like garbage and expecting, crazy things or micromanaging. And so there's a really bad perception inside the office. So you really have to make sure that the CEO is positive both outside and inside the organization. Okay, the next idea is to listen to new ideas from all employees. Lots of people have great ideas. It doesn't have to come from management or the CEO or the top person in each department. Good ideas can come from anywhere. I always joke that my best ideas happen in my shower. And so, who am I? Maybe I have the, how to save the world best idea in the shower, but I'm not president of the United States, right? So you never know where the good ideas are coming from. That was kind of a bad example, but you guys know what I mean. Anyways, making sure that people are able to share those new ideas and that the general group is listening and that employee feels heard and important and respected and being able to contribute to the group as a whole. So those things are really important. The next tip is to recognize hard work. So this is really important because I really struggled with this when I worked with other organizations. I would work a year or 6 months on a project. I would give it my heart and soul, literally blood, sweat, and tears. I would give up time with my family, with my daughter. This was my life for a very long time. And after the event would happen, I would basically be told, well, this went wrong and this went wrong and you needed to do this better and this sucked and blah, blah, blah. Even though we had done a really great job and the event went off without a hitch and it was a successful event, basically I was told all of the crappy things that happened and very little about how much hard work I had put in and how much they respected me or cared that I had put in that time. And now this is not about making the employee feel like a princess or super important or anything like that, because I really didn't care about having the recognition of like I was a super important person in the office. What I wanted was just to be recognized for the time and effort that I had put in and the time away from my daughter and my family that I had given up to be there to do that job. Those were the things that were important to me. It wasn't about making me feel special. It was simply about recognizing that I had really done the best job I possibly could. And so recognizing that hard work is really, really important, and doing that in front of others makes that go even farther as well. Another tip that is really, really important, and this can be kind of the make or break situation in a lot of businesses, is having clear and consistent communication. So figuring out what those best practices are early on, implementing them, and updating them as the culture changes. So an example would be maybe phone calls, 30 years ago was the very best way to have clear and consistent communication. Then it moved to faxes. Then it moved to email. Now maybe it's text messaging and instant messages on, Google Chat or whatever. So keeping abreast of all of those changes and making sure that those are consistently used amongst the entire team. When you do this, consider what your team is like. Know that not everybody on your team is going to be email savvy or computer savvy. Not everybody on your team is going to be comfortable picking up the phone and making a phone call. And so making sure that those communication skills really fit amongst everybody, or making sure that those who maybe aren't as computer savvy become comfortable with using the computer and using those tools that you're using for communication. So using a whole bunch of times that. But anyways, so clear and consistent communication tools and practices are extraordinarily important for a good environment in general. It helps you not miss important tools or tasks that need to be done, and it makes everybody stay on the same page. That's really, really important. Okay, this is my favorite one. So schedule time for fun. It's really important to build relationships with your colleagues, and there's no better way to do that than through fun activities in a relaxing environment. So I'll give you a really good example. I went to a conference once when I worked for another company, and we spent the night at a bowling alley, and it wasn't, there was like other things that, it was like a whole arcade bowling alley thing. I don't know, it was really cool. But anyways, we went to go bowling. I went bowling with my boss and all my coworkers, and we had drinks and food, and we just hung out, and we talked about work, but not really, but it was awesome. We laughed and we joked and we had fun, and I was paid while I was there. So, just schedule that time for fun. It doesn't always have to be work. If you can't afford to take all your employees to bowling, then shut the office down for a day and have a freaking barbecue at the park and invite everybody and pay for it. And do it on a Tuesday so that they're paid to be at work and they get to have fun and they get to build those relationships with their colleagues. Allow them to invite their families as well so that those families get connected and they build relationships amongst each other, and they become friends there too, because you build a bigger environment and more people are going to help your company become successful that way as well. So schedule time for fun and pay your employees to be there. Don't make them come on a Friday evening or a Saturday afternoon because they got their own life. They got their own stuff they do. They don't want to come to some work gig on their own time. Do it during work time. You can handle it for a day. It'll be good. I promise. Okay, so the next thing is to trust your employees. Guide and support them. Do not micromanage them. Let employees show that they can't be trusted, opposed to proving that they are trustable. Does that make sense? I don't know if I said that right, but you know what I'm saying. Trust your employees from the very beginning. Know that they are usually trustworthy and usually in it for the right reason. The majority of people are really good people. Let them prove you wrong. So trust your employees and give them guidance and support. Just don't throw them to the wolves and wish them the best, and don't micromanage them. Give them that really good middle ground so they have the information and tools and resources that they need to be successful, but then they get to figure it out on their own terms, at their own time, in their own way. And that way you'll have a happy, supported, trained individual who's able to do it on their own, and that gives you the time and freedom to go focus on whatever it is you need to be focusing on, the bigger picture stuff. So trust, train, support, do not micromanage your employees. Okay, and the last one, this one is extraordinarily, extraordinarily important. Look out for bad eggs among your team. This is a really hard, uneasy thing sometimes, but it is probably the most important thing you can do for your business. If you have a bad egg amongst your team, and I know you know what I'm talking about, there's always that employee that's just, kind of rubbing everybody the wrong way, ruffling feathers, or hurting feelings or whatever. Address that situation sooner than later. Do not avoid it, because they are going to make your environment as toxic as it possibly can be. And no matter what you do to try to fix that situation is never going to be fixed until that bad egg is gone. And that bad egg can infect all the other employees one by one as well, until it all disintegrates. I've personally seen this happen. So how do you address the bad egg? That's a really good question. So a couple things you can do. One, have a meeting with the bad egg and talk to them about their bad attitude, their issues with the organization, what you might be able to do to address those issues and make the situation better for them, or talk to them, how can we make your bad attitude better? What can we do to address this and improve this situation? Give them time to improve. If that doesn't happen, then give them an ultimatum. Say, if this doesn't change, then X is going to happen. And then give them time for that. Document all of this, mind you. Do HR work as you go through the whole process as well, so you protect yourself. But if that does not fix the situation, then ultimately you need to decide that this bad egg is causing damage in your company's environment and culture, which is so important. So I cannot drive that home enough. But consider removing that bad egg, because in the long run, it's going to be the best decision for your company, your team, and your organization as a whole. So I don't know, it's a tough situation, but I promise it is really worth dealing with and handling it as early on as possible, and terminating the position if you have to. I hope it doesn't come to that, but sometimes it does, but it's really, really important. Anyways, those are some of my tips and tricks for keeping up a positive culture or environment with your staff, and keeping your team or your staff happy and excited and glad to be in your office and at work every day. So if you have any questions, comments, other ideas, suggestions, what topics you want me to talk on, whatever, just let me know. Comment below. I'm always here for you guys. I love you guys lots, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.